welcome to another episode of the Ruthless Regression Podcast.
Official. We have a title and a picture.
Yeah, if you're watching the video, we have a slightly more official looking set.
Yeah.
And we have two microphones this time, which you might appreciate even if you're just listening. So we don't have to crowd around just one.
Yeah, we're moving up in the world.
Yeah, just a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
So this episode, we're just going to talk a little bit about kind of what we're doing with the Ruthless Regression Podcast, kind of at a high level.
Yeah.
Because last week we talked about Night of Champions, which obviously was a new 2023 event. But kind of the intention behind the podcast is to go back and watch Ruthless Aggression era wrestling, kind of each show, and then talk about it on a podcast format.
Yeah, because it's something I've never watched.
Yeah, so why don't we get to that? Let's maybe just do some light introductions. This feels a little bit like a job interview, but it's not.
I think we've had enough job interviewing, but yeah, so informally. I consider myself a casual wrestler viewer.
Thought you were going to say you're a casual wrestler.
That would be fun, I think, maybe one day, especially if they offered that as maybe like a camp you could go to and do some training or something with someone. I think that would be fun, but I would say probably I knew of wrestling prior to this year, but this year is really the first year where I've watched week to week, knew who was who, got a little bit more involved. Still prefer to be a casual fan. I wouldn't say I want to go 100% into the the drama of it all, but yeah, just been getting more involved.
So you're a casual new fan, basically.
Yeah. I think there was a brief stint in like 8th grade when I watched Monday Night Wrestling. Maybe a month or two. And that was pretty much it.
Gotcha. Can you like adjust your mic a little bit upwards? Sorry, we're just kind of figuring this out.
Yeah. Is that better?
Yeah. I guess so. We'll find out later.
You realize that one adjustment like ruined everything? Ruined the audio?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Anyway, for me, did you say what your name is, by the way?
Elizabeth.
Yeah, there we go. I'm Levi. We're married, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So we do know each other a little bit.
Casually.
So for me, I grew up watching a little bit toward the end of Attitude Era. So really early 2000s. I was like 5-6 years old. So I started watching around then, and that's basically when the Ruthless Aggression era started, right in around 2002.
I probably just slurped really loud.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
And yeah, I basically watched for the whole Ruthless Aggression era. That was my era, and it's what I look back the most fondly on. And yeah, I've always wanted to go back and do this sort of thing. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah. For me, the value for me is that I get a little bit more context, a little bit more history, and it's a different feel, I think, as compared to present day wrestling. And I also get to see a few present day wrestlers get going, people that are already established. So
yeah, some familiar faces started in Ruthless Aggression. A lot of them are retired and gone, but there are a few familiar faces.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about as we start our first episode of that. But I guess we can talk a little bit about what Ruthless Aggression is.
I don't think so. It was coined by Vince McMahon.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about we're probably going to do an episode on the very first Raw.
Okay.
Which is the very first official show of Ruthless Aggression, where Vince McMahon first coined that term. And I don't know. I'd have to do more research on like what kind of prompted it, but it seems like one of those things where it's more of a retroactive, like that's when that era started.
Yeah.
But I mean, we'll learn more as we go. But yeah, it's the era right after the Attitude Era. So, WWE had just bought their competitor WCW, and they didn't really have outside competition anymore. And so it just kind of kicked off a new era of wrestling. And I guess that's all I'll say about it for now. Mostly because I don't know that much about it other than kind of
Who was wrestling?
right in the history of it.
Yeah. I mean, what is there to know? Because to me, it seems like present day and past day wrestling is very reality show-esque. So
yeah. It feels like a new season of a show, but it's a very long one. Like it goes from 2002 to 2008 roughly.
Okay.
But I think as we get into the first episodes, I've went back and watched a couple. It's pretty clear why this was the beginning of a new era, because you start seeing faces that are familiar now that were just getting started at the beginning of this era. So I think it'll be pretty fun to cover it.
Side note, skipping ahead because I have a hard time going in order. Was Cody Rhodes Stardust? Did that start in that era, or is that right after?
I think Cody Rhodes may have made his debut during this, but I think Stardust came later.
And his brother was Goldust?
Goldust, which we'll become very acquainted with Goldust.
Yeah. Okay. I saw like an Instagram video of Cody Rhodes talking about, I don't know, something about his dark days after Stardust, and then he wanted to come back. And so I was just curious, I guess, when he got his start.
Yeah, I believe he started during this stretch.
Yeah, that'll be
but
interesting.
I don't know how much we'll get into that. We'll see. Because anyway, Cody Rhodes. What are we going to do with this podcast in particular? As far as episodes go, I think we're going to start out with kind of a loose definition of what we're going to do. We may do some of the weekly shows like the Raws and SmackDowns.
Yeah.
I doubt we'll do every single one. And we'll definitely, I think, do the pay-per-views.
Yeah. There's just so much content, so we could,
There's a lot.
Could review.
We're probably, like, if you want to watch along with this podcast, I'd probably suggest, if you want to watch every episode, because that's probably what we're going to do, or at least it's what I'm going to do. And what we actually have a show on, we'll just kind of see as we go. But first episode most likely is going to be the very first Raw in, I think, June of 2002.
Okay.
Which kicks off.
Yeah. Which we finished that one, didn't we?
Yeah, behind the scenes we already finished watching it, but we may watch it again, and then we'll do an episode on it soon.
Okay. Sounds good. It's just the keeping up with it all. There's so much content, which I think overall is probably one of the most impressive things about WWE is just how much content they can push out. It's crazy.
I mean, we calculated it's how many shows in Ruthless Aggression over the, 6-year period?
Yeah.
It's hundreds of shows. Yeah. Hundreds. So probably unlikely that we'll cover every single one, but I mean, we'll just kind of call it. We're probably going to evolve as we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such is life.
That's just kind of a little intro into what we think we're going to do.
Yeah. A little bit of past, a little bit of present, a little bit of glitz, a little bit of glam.
Yeah. And yeah, like you just said, we're definitely going to cover new stuff too, because we're still watching the weekly shows.
Yeah.
We're watching Raw, SmackDown, and pay-per-views, or PLEs as they're called now.
I was noticing watching SmackDown today just how how difficult I think it's going to become now that they've separated the two shows more distinctly. Whereas previously in the past few months, everything's been pretty cohesive between Monday and Friday. Now I'm like, oh crap, I got to keep up with two very separate storylines.
So let's transition into, so this ends the intro part of the podcast. That's kind of what we're going to be doing. I'd say our first episode of actual proper ruthless regression is going to be probably in the next week.
We could do like a psychological analysis. We could regress on the aggression. Maybe we could analyze Vince McMahon.
That may be a different podcast.
We're not qualified
anyway,
to do that.
All right, now let's talk a little bit about. We just watched Friday Night SmackDown. Yeah. So you're saying the show
June 2nd's Friday Night SmackDown.
Yep, 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So definitely, it's a different SmackDown than it was a couple months ago.
Very.
Definitely, the draft is in full effect. I feel like Raw is a lot more stacked than SmackDown.
Yes.
SmackDown's got a lot of new NXT talent, which is interesting, but I don't know. I haven't found the SmackDown shows quite as entertaining. It feels a little more NXT-ish for a lot of the show until the Bloodline stuff.
And also, but I think that goes to just how uninteresting the Bloodline was. Because now that they've moved that primarily to Friday, your girl don't care. I'm trying to care.
Yeah, I think that's you're alone in that opinion.
That's fine. I'll be the minority on that.
So let's talk about the Bloodline stuff, because that was obviously the biggest. So we got a new belt.
But it's a replacement belt?
That's my assumption.
Okay.
So Triple H comes out, this is the end of the show, introduces Roman Reigns and presents him with a new, I think he called the Undisputed Universal WWE Championship. So I think it's those two belts that he's been carrying around just merged into one.
Okay.
So I think he'll just carry one now, which makes sense because he always defends them together. And now we've got the heavyweight championship on Raw. So we don't need 3 championships.
Yeah. We need to rope him in a little bit. He's reached his 1,000 days. The song and dance is getting predictable at best. Annoying at worst. But so he's got a fancy new belt. Even talking about it now, I'm trying to find something that is entertaining.
Do you like the belt?
It's fine.
It's basically the universal WWE belts, but it's more gold. Which I do like it.
It's okay.
I'm fine.
A Roman hater.
I know.
That's just how it is.
Okay, well, let's talk about the other Bloodline stuff. So obviously we had the stuff with the Usos at Night of Champions. So the Usos come out tonight. Mm-hmm. They immediately go to commercial, which really bothered me. Like, there's this really heated, tense moment, and they immediately go to commercial break.
Yeah.
And so that was weird. But then they come back and...
But that goes to show just how long it takes whenever they do a session on them, or I don't know what you call it, a match.
They had almost... So I was checking. Triple H came out just past 9:30. So they almost had a quarter of the show.
And all he did was give him a belt.
Well, okay, but then the Bloodline stuff. So we've got Jimmy and Roman going back and forth. We kind of have a moment where it looks like Solo is also going to turn on Roman. Mm-hmm. He says, "I acknowledge my tribal chief, but those are my brothers." and he changes sides. Then they do this whole thing where they're like almost about to reconcile, and Roman gives Jimmy a big hug, and then he says no into the mic. And Solo spikes Jimmy in the throat. It's still not really clear where Jay stands. He's taking care of his brother. He's kind of just wanting Solo to go away, and that's the new mystery. Is we know where Jimmy stands, we know where Solo stands, but where does Jay stand?
I don't know. I'm so glad they save it to the end of the show, because I could have stopped watching at
my
9:30.
Well, anyway,
I'll say as a modern female wrestling fan, it's getting old. Even for wrestling standards. Not that I've been a mega fan for a while, but the whole like side switch and then double turn thing they've done, like this is the third iteration, fourth maybe, that they've done that.
not the Bloodline. The Bloodline's been together, other than Sammy, they've been together for years.
No, they did that whole thing when one of the Usos was going to go with Sammy, but then he didn't go.
Yeah, but he never fully turned. He was a double agent.
The double turn, exactly.
You're just a hater.
That's okay, I'll be a hater. Every fan base needs its lovers and its haters.
Sure. I mean, I want Roman and the Bloodline to crumble more than anybody, but I feel like the story's been pretty good.
Yeah,
And I was definitely, I would say, on the edge of my seat for the last 30 minutes. I didn't know what was going to happen.
The same thing that happens every time.
Oh my, you cannot tell me that you knew what was going to happen.
I wouldn't say that I knew, but am I surprised whatsoever? I'm like, nope, wrap it up, moving on.
Okay.
Hey, I don't hate the person, just the characters.
Well, I've got bad
just
news
their
for
personas.
you. It's not done, and it probably won't be done for a while.
Yeah, I know. But it's fun to be a hater sometimes.
Yeah, okay, I'll take your word for it.
In an innocent way. I don't wish death upon them. I just, a casual hater.
I just find it a lot more fun if you just go along with things in wrestling.
Yeah, I know.
If you can. I mean, switching gears a little bit, somebody who I can't go along with is Asuka.
See? Everybody, you gotta hate and you gotta love. And
yeah, I mean, we had a segment earlier where it's the Grayson Waller effect, his little his talk show thing, and they brought Asuka out, which is like one of the few people who can't actually talk on a talk show.
Not good mic skills. She's a little bland, but
I wouldn't even say she's bland. It's just like she has this limit. She's got the obvious limitation that she can't speak on the mic.
Yeah.
Which, again, like you said, it's nothing personal. It's just like you're a WWE professional wrestler.
Yeah. It's harder to buy into the character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just, and then they brought Io Sky out, and I think you missed that part, but she came out and they were both speaking, I'm sorry, I don't know what language they were speaking, but a different language that I didn't understand, which is fine, but that was a bizarre couple of minutes.
Yeah.
And I think they lost the crowd for one. The crowd didn't care. I think Michael Cole said something like, well, there goes the ratings.
Oh, no, did he
really? He did. He said it. Whenever Io Sky came out and started talking.
It's so weird. It's like, for some things like that, it's like they're so self-aware, and yet it's like, who wrote this? Like, somebody has to coordinate things, right? There's creative control, there's storylines, somebody's writing something.
Yeah, and they had like all of these women come out for the Money in the Bank, and I don't really see anyone in that group that's a realistic competitor for the belt at this point. Like Zelina Vega came out looking the most, and she won her qualifying match against Lacey Evans tonight, but she just lost a championship match to Rhea Ripley.
Yeah.
So
things still feel disjointed post WrestleMania. We haven't quite everything still feels very scrambled. Like, where's Drew McIntyre?
Well, that's a whole nother thing.
I'm still like, where is he? What's he doing?
Injury plus contract negotiations, I think.
I don't know. I've been seeing since
Contract negotiations. That's what you keep telling me, is that like he might leave, but like he's still on, I believe he's still on contract through this year. It's more a question of like going forward, I think.
Yeah, there's just not a lot of clear information out, which seems odd. He was like kind of up there.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that's what they do, is they withhold this information so that either he disappears and
that's so
good.
Weird. That'd be like Cody Rhodes, like post WrestleMania, just like, where is this guy?
Well, if he goes to a competitor, they're not going to hype him up.
Yeah, I guess so. But you would think there would still be some kind of like reporting or something about where he is. Maybe not. I don't know.
Not if he leaves.
Yeah.
Better let the audience forget about him. Or he'll come out of nowhere and make a return and it'll be massive.
It's such a content factory. It's crazy. Like, they will trash you and move on.
Oh, yeah.
But
our boy LA Knight got a win in the Money in the Bank qualifier match.
see, I'm with you on LA Knight. We like the persona. We like the guy. He has good
Everybody
character.
likes him, I think.
Yeah.
The crowd was booing Montez Ford, who is a pretty popular guy.
Yeah.
Because LA Knight is he's a superstar. Maybe do you think he's got a chance to win the Money in the Bank?
I would say yes. Now that he's won, Now that
he's in the match.
I mean,
technically,
the fact that they would qualify him, yeah, he's got a chance.
Yeah, we don't know the full match yet. I think maybe Ricochet qualified on Monday, but Ricochet's not going to win.
You don't think? I don't know.
No.
Yeah.
He's really good in the ring, but I think that's kind of where it ends.
Yeah.
I saw too, a little off topic, but speaking of Ricochet, apparently Braun Strowman has a major injury. I think he just had surgery. I think he's out for like the rest of the year.
Oh.
So that's why that duo, we haven't seen them recently.
Yeah. Duos are weird. It's like you only know this person as part of a team, and then all of a sudden, where's the other guy?
Yeah.
He's gone. And New Day is still struggling with that a little bit.
The New Day is in shambles.
Yeah. At what point do you kind of call it a day and renegotiate your appearance? I don't know. But that's what I'm most fascinated about. I mean, wrestling is fun to watch, but I want to know like logistics. Who is it? Agents? Who is in charge of how people are presented? Like their partner?
WWE creative.
Oh.
Mostly. I think they've been known to be very protective of their IP, I guess, and they present it however they want. But any other thoughts on SmackDown this week?
Not really.
Pretty Deadly. You're a fan?
Yeah, they're cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they've got potential.
I agree.
In a weird way, they seem like they would fit with Dolph Ziggler.
Pretty boys.
Yeah, pretty boys with the long hair.
Yep.
So
I can see it.
It's a little weird to see them with Austin Theory, but it could work.
I don't think it was a long-term thing. I think it was just like they were facing Brawling Brutes and they needed a third.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. But it worked. They seem cool.
Yeah, I think they have potential. They had a cool match finish. I don't know if you caught this, but I don't know their names yet, but the dark-haired one was not the legal man, so he went in the ring. They had the same outfits on, so you couldn't tell them apart other than their head. Mm-hmm. So he covered up his own head with the ring apron.
Yeah.
Then the other one runs around and blindsides.
Yeah.
I forget who his opponent was, but ends up leading to a match win after they did their cool looking finisher.
Yeah.
Still have to learn names of things, but I think they're pretty cool.
I know the Brawling Brutes, and the long haired and the short haired.
I know them. I just don't know Pretty Deadly.
Oh,
But,
I see what you're saying. Like which one came in. Yeah, I don't know.
Cool.
You know, when you have the twinsy look, it's hard to tell. Same with the Brawling Brutes.
Yeah.
Same with the Imperium guys.
Yep.
What are they?
Baldy and Ludwig Kaiser.
Yeah, the tan guy and the bald guy.
Yep. All right, what else you got for SmackDown? Anything? Or
I don't think so.
yeah, it was not a great
fine.
show.
It was
I
fine.
mean, yeah, I mean, it was. I wouldn't say it's not great. It was just kind of like I said. It feels like a lot of it is lower tier talent, but I mean, the bright side of that is maybe we'll see some new faces get more opportunities. So
yeah,
could be a good thing.
I think Raw just feels a little bit stronger now, as far as, I mean, wrestler talent. Sure, there's bigger, more established names, but it just seems like tighter. Like the storylines and the flow is a bit tighter.
Yep.
Versus SmackDown feels a little aimless the past few weeks.
It's totally flipped too. It used to be the other way around.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, before the draft, I think some of those Raws, because they're 3 hours,
Yeah.
kind of drag. But
yeah.
lately, I mean, even now, I guess they're a little long, but they've got plenty of talent to fill it up now.
Yeah, it feels like there's more of an idea of what's going to happen, versus SmackDown's like, well, we got to do a few of these matches, and of course the Bloodline, and it's like,
Well, we're going to SmackDown in Raleigh in July, so hopefully they figure out some things before then.
Yeah, I think it'll be better live too. I mean, Raw was great live, so I like to be, a hopeful hater.
Yeah, totally.
I'm open to be a non-hater.
To being wrong? Are you open to being wrong?
Yeah, I think so in general.
Okay, we'll see about that.
I'm open to disagreement. Like you said, a lot of people love Roman, and that's cool. Just not me.
All right. I think that's a good place to cut it. Let's all right. Well, thanks for listening. We'll be back with episode, I don't know what we're going to call it.
3.
Well, so it will technically be the third episode overall, but our first episode focusing on ruthless aggression.
I see.
And I'm going to fix this thing that keeps switching back and forth.
Yeah, we'll be a little bit better every time.
Yeah, we're going to improve slightly every podcast. So stay tuned.